Ever notice how some trials just completely suck you in?
Yeah,
They become these windows into, just all the messiness of human nature, all the contradictions.
Oh, totally. I think it's like the drama of it all,
Yeah.
And also, it kind of feels like we're getting a glimpse into something we're not usually allowed to see.
Right.
Like it's usually behind closed doors.
Yeah. In this case, the upcoming judgment for Daniel Asiedu,
Oh, yeah.
accused of murdering J.B. Danquah Adu.
Back in 2016.
Right, 2016.
That's a long time.
This is one of those cases, this is a case that really captivated Ghana.
Huge case. Yeah.
And it's been going on for years.
It feels like forever.
So we're going to dive into this.
Okay.
We've got this recent article from Ghana News Agency.
Okay.
This is going to be our guide, and we're going to really try to get into the heart of it all.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
The arguments, the evidence.
It's a case that raises so many questions.
Yeah.
And not even just about, is he guilty or not?
Right.
But like about how the whole legal system works.
Yeah, exactly.
Where does it actually work?
So just to kind of like recap for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Asiedu, also known as Sexy Don,
Wow.
has said he's innocent this whole time.
Okay, interesting.
You don't hear a nickname like that every day in a murder trial, right?
Certainly not. It's a bit jarring, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of makes you do a double take.
So the prosecution, they built their case around DNA evidence.
Okay, standard.
Right.
Pretty standard these days.
They found it at the crime scene, and they're also saying they found it at a witness's house.
Okay.
And they also point to the fact that they found stolen mobile phones that belonged to Danquah
Makes sense.
with Asiedu.
The accused... okay.
But there was another guy involved, right?
Right. His alleged accomplice.
Vincent Bosu.
Yeah, what about him?
He was acquitted
Oh, wow.
of conspiracy charges.
So they couldn't pin him to it.
No, they couldn't.
Interesting.
Does that weaken the prosecution's case?
It definitely makes things a lot more complex, that's for sure. If they couldn't even get a conviction against the guy they say was helping, it kind of makes you wonder about the strength of their whole case.
Right.
The jury might look at that and think, maybe we can't be so sure about this other guy either.
And then you've got Asiedu's defense,
Yeah.
which is pretty wild.
Okay, what's he saying?
He's claiming that the DNA evidence is completely made up.
Oh, wow. Fabricated.
Yeah, and that the police forced him into giving false statements.
Oh, man. Coerced confessions.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Huge red flag.
Because if someone's being pressured
Exactly.
into saying something,
They'll say anything just to get it to stop.
like,
Even if it means admitting to something they never did.
so how does that even happen?
Well, there are all sorts of ways it can happen.
Okay.
Like sometimes they threaten people
Oh, wow.
or intimidate them.
Yeah.
Or they keep them a week for days and just keep asking them the same questions over and over.
Oh,
And they're not allowed to talk to a lawyer.
that's awful.
It's a really messed up situation. Sometimes they even use like psychological tricks to manipulate people.
Right.
But the problem is once someone's given a confession like that,
Right.
it's almost impossible to know if they're telling the truth or not.
Yeah, you just can't tell.
It makes it really hard to trust anything they say.
So Asiedu is saying he didn't do it. The evidence is planted.
Okay.
And he's got this whole other story
What's the story?
about another man and this stolen phone.
Interesting.
He even offered to show the jury a tattoo
A tattoo? What for?
to prove that he wasn't this other guy.
Oh, to prove his identity.
Yeah, like, it feels like he's just throwing everything at the wall
Yeah, trying everything he can think of.
to see what sticks.
It's a pretty desperate move.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're facing serious charges,
Yeah.
you're going to try anything to get out of them.
Yeah.
It seems like what the defense is trying to do is create enough doubt
Right.
to make the jury question the whole investigation. Like, are we really sure this was done right? And did they really get the right guy?
Okay, so will it work?
Well, who knows?
Right.
I guess we'll have to see what the judge and jury think.
So then there was the scene reconstruction.
Oh, yeah, in the courtroom.
Yeah, and that was supposed to clear things up.
Usually it does.
But it seems like it actually made things more confusing.
How so?
Well, there was blood on Asiedu's hand, but no one's really sure where it came from.
Oh, so they couldn't link it directly to the crime.
Exactly. And then there was this whole thing with the bloodstained cup.
A cup? What was that about?
No one seems to be able to explain it.
Wow, that's weird.
So instead of helping the prosecution,
Right.
the reconstruction might have actually hurt them.
Yeah, it sounds like it just raised more questions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good reminder that even with something like physical evidence,
Right.
it's not always as clear-cut as it seems.
So on December 4th, we'll finally find out.
The verdict.
Yeah, what the judge thinks about all of this.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
So before the judge gives the verdict, they're going to summarize the whole case for the jury.
Right. A summary of everything.
Is that just a recap, or is there more to it?
It's definitely more than just a recap. It's like the judge is helping the jury organize all the information, all the evidence and all the arguments from both sides.
Right.
It's to make sure that they understand what the main points of disagreement are.
Yeah.
And also to remind them of the legal principles that are relevant to the case.
So this case, it has so many layers.
Definitely.
The evidence, the conflicting accounts, the questions about the investigation.
Yeah, it's messy.
If you had to pick just one thing,
okay,
what's the most important takeaway for you?
I think this case shows us, more than anything, how important it is to have a strong and transparent legal system.
Yeah.
It makes us ask some really tough questions.
Right.
Like, how do we know that evidence hasn't been tampered with? Yeah. What can we do to stop people from being forced into confessing to things they didn't do?
Right.
And how can we make sure that people still trust the courts?
Big questions.
Really big questions.
And those questions go way beyond just this one case.
Absolutely. They apply to every case.
It makes you think about all the other cases out there, both in Ghana and around the world.
All over.
Where those same questions might be just hanging in the air.
Unsolved.
So as we wait for the judge's decision, it's definitely a lot to think about.
A lot to ponder, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll be thinking about it for a while.
Me too.